Let's start with the research team. Who was involved in this pilot?
So obviously there was a very large team involved in getting this project set up, and there's a lot of advisors for the government on telling them how to kind of set up, how to talk to the businesses, what things to expect, and so on. But there was one particular team of researchers and professors that have been put in charge of collating all of this data and all of this information across all the trials, and then transforming that into actual insights that will help determine if this was a success, if this was an exercise of productivity, if it was quite the opposite. So part of the team was a collaboration between the College of Boston and the University College of Dublin, and we had Professor Juliet Shore, Professor Wen Fan, and Guoling Gu from Boston, as well as Professor Orla Kelly from University College of Dublin.
Wow, so lots of people involved.
Yes.
So what were the results of this trial then?
So there was obviously a massive amount of data around this. Basically, we're looking at 2022 as the baseline year for this. Obviously, there have been trials happening for years now, but 2022 was the year when the UK actually put this into place and invited a number of companies to kind of do this. Mm-hmm. And we had 61 companies across the UK, close to 3,000 people working on this. These were employees that were involved with this. Basically, the majority easily continued with this and either have put this as a permanent fixture within the business or have implemented, let's say, a 6 months to 1 year rolling kind of schedule. And basically 92% of the companies have continued with this and have seen a lot of success. These trials have been happening for years now, so it's not a new thing. But however, 2022 was the year where it actually became a thing. And the UK government actually appointed 61 companies and close to about 3,000 employees and brought them into this project to see
like what it would be like if we implemented a 4-day working week. Yeah,
exactly. And basically the ratings and all the scores basically were fantastic. So most of the companies have rated their overall experience about 8.3 out of 10, which is a great number.
Wow, that's great.
92% of those companies have actually continued and have turned this into a permanent fixture within their company, or at the very least a kind of yearly, let's say, rolling fixture. But even with the clients I've spoken to that have turned to a yearly rolling fixture, they said this isn't to deter people from thinking, we might take it away someday. It's just in case things do go wrong. And things sometimes can go wrong, but I think the overwhelming success that this project has seen last year, I think this will be a permanent fixture across many companies, and I think many other companies will start seeing the benefits of this and start implementing this. And I think, Siân, you spoke to one of your clients recently.
Yeah, so, a couple of our clients have started kind of putting this initiative together. And one of the clients we spoke to, we actually had a Teams call with them quite recently, and they were kind of going through the benefits, the barriers they've kind of come up against. But actually, I'd say, 90% of what they said was extremely positive when it came to, everything around the 4-day working week. They had a few barriers. I think certain teams, it can be a bit of a struggle. Depends on the job that you do, as to whether it will work for you and whatnot.
Like a customer-facing team.
Yeah, so a customer-facing team, but they actually managed to work around this by making it like a more of a rota type system. So they still managed to get a 4-day working week, but it's just that the first half of the team will do the first part of the week, the second half of the team will do the second part of the week. So sometimes they got a Monday off, sometimes they get a Friday off, but they kind of work it around. So even though your job might not be suitable for it, there clearly is kind of workarounds for it. And I think the more companies that do this, the more kind of ideas will get kind of bouncing around and whatnot. But everything they said was extremely positive. They got a lot of good feedback. There's always going to be people that are like, it's not for me, for me, or whatever like that. But, across the board, they said pretty much everyone was on board with it. They trialled it for, was it 6 months?
So they did 2 different trials last year. So they did one in the summer, which unfortunately didn't get a lot of success or a lot of good insights out of it because of annual leave, holidays, and things like that. So they said, okay, we don't want to mess this up, and we don't want to come up with the wrong data. So let's do it again over a larger period of time when more people are in the office and things like that. So they've done it actually twice, and they just loved it. And what I found interesting was that it was coming from the top down, because one of my biggest concerns with this was obviously you have the managers that bum in seats and stuff like that. So how are they dealing with this? And I actually asked these questions to a few of my clients, and it all relates against the statistics of this project, which are mainly around the increased productivity and revenue. So revenue across the board has risen to an average about 1.4%.
Wow, so there was an increase.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
And
that was their main reason for actually doing it. They were really kind of, a lot of companies are really struggling, like what benefits can we offer, what can we offer our people that's different? And for them, that was a really big driving point, was their recruitment kind of drive. They can then, that's a massive benefit that a lot of companies don't offer or can't offer. For them, that was so important, because they were like, okay, we've got all of these benefits already, but actually this is an added benefit on top. It's so important for a lot of people.
And when you present these facts to the managers, the leadership teams, to the CEOs, and all of that, there's no kind of refuting this. And they said, all the clients I've spoken to, they said top down, from the CEO down, everyone was happy.
Wow.
Let's be honest, everyone wants happy people to come into work. People aren't stressed about getting their errands done on a Saturday or Sunday when they want to relax and things like that. So that extra day gives so much more.
They were almost selling it as like a self day sort of thing. When do you have time to do your car MOT? When do you have time to do all your chores and all of that? You get 2 days of the week. Well, most people on their kind of Monday to Friday get 2 days at the weekend. That's 2 days. One day, let's say you spend doing all your chores and all of your car MOT, your shopping, your housework, all of that stuff. That leaves you only 1 day to actually enjoy. So a lot of them, they use it. I mean, another person was saying that they're using it to do a CIPD. So they're using it to learn a complete other kind of, when would you have time to do that on a full-time working week? It's very difficult.
And if you look at it, that will help her in the current role.
Yeah, of course.
Will help
and
her
a couple
be better.
of them, a lot of people have mentioned on their day off, they've actually still been kind of meeting up and doing stuff together, but to work on themselves within the business. So like you say, training courses, they've been doing management courses, but they're doing it together because it's still, it's still a day that you should be working. They've been used to working on that day. So actually, let's get together. Let's do something that's going to be productive for us and for the business. So there's different sides, but you don't have to. Obviously, that's their choice to do that. But actually, that's going to help them in the long run in their job when it comes. Well, it's going to make their job easier in the long run as well. So there's so many options with it.
Yeah, and an interesting thing that I've seen was that the employees have made a compromise as well. So it's not all about taking, we're going to have an extra day off and things like that. They have compromised, like you said earlier. I'm going to jump on my laptop on that Friday and spend a couple of hours just to make sure I'm on top of things, just to make sure, because let's be honest, everyone wanted at the end of this trial, they wanted this trial to be a success. So they kind of stepped it up a little bit, and it has shown in the stats. Like some of the companies compared the trial period to the same period in previous years, and some of them have found up to 35% increase in productivity and revenue, which is amazing. So overall, it seems to have been on the surface a success. And again, it's not just success from the employee's point of view; it's from both sides. Having both sides being aligned to this is really impressive.
Yeah, and just looking at this stat here, it says 15% of employees said that no amount of money would make them accept a 5-day schedule in their next job, which is...
It's honestly, when we spoke to... we've obviously spoken to a couple of our clients that do it, and they said going from a 5-day working week to going to a 4-day working week. So when they did the trial, obviously they went back up to a 5-day working week after doing the 4-day. And they said they were all exhausted after the 5-day working week because they were so used to doing full days for, I think, was it 3 months they did it for or something like that? And they did it 4 days for that amount of time. When they went back to 5 days again, apparently they got to the Friday and everyone was like, oh my God, like completely dying off sort of thing. That just shows they really appreciated it. Then when they went back onto the trial again, went back to the 4-day working week, it gave them that extra bit of appreciation to be like, oh my God, we can do it. We clearly can do it in these 4 days, and we're more productive for it. I mean, a lot of them were saying how, they've slimmed down their meetings to, half an hour, only essential meetings, because your time's more precious. You only have 4 days to do your job.
The same amount of work in 4 days.
Let's not waste our time doing meetings that are irrelevant. Let's not waste our time, doing things that we don't need to do. We'll do what needs to happen, the absolute essentials to then, so we can enjoy that day off,
And I guess prioritising.
Prioritising productivity raises, you can't, if you want to be off on that Friday, you've got to make sure all your work's done before that happens, so that's important.
And what I've seen is a lot of managers from companies I've spoken to that have done this trial have actually implemented having every meeting that they book in, be it 30 minutes, an hour, cut off 15 minutes at the end. Every single meeting.
Every single meeting.
Every single minute. Cut out 15. So you have that 15-minute extra that day to do anything else. That adds up across the week, a month,
really
and stuff like that. It does add up. So everyone's kind of trying different things to see what will work, and it's obviously going to be a few years, but people are starting to do the right things, and it's showing in how the employees are reacting to this. So if we look at the stats around the employee satisfaction and the well-being and things like that, because at the end of the day, this is probably what it's about mostly.
Yeah, has it had an effect on their health?
Yes, absolutely. So if we're looking at burnout, over 70% have said that they've had a decrease in burnout and have reaching that point in their working week or month. We had about half of them saying that they've had a mental health improvement. Around half of them have said that they felt a reduction in negative emotions coming into work, that anxiety. I know I've come to work some days and my heart was pulsing and things like that. So not having that and kind of coming into work with a fresh pair of eyes and a relaxed mindset will help you be more productive and come up with new ideas and be more creative in your work, which ultimately leads to.
And do you think that's because people are more productive in the 4 days that they're here, so they're getting more things done, or do you think it's because they're having more time to relax?
Probably a bit of both, let's be honest. I mean, the more time you have to rest and recover, the more productive you're going to be, the more refreshed you're going to be. Like when you've had a holiday, for example, it does depend on the person. Some people come back and have the holiday blues and whatnot, but normally you feel a bit more refreshed, you can get your head straight back into it, it gives you time to rest and recover before you have to get straight back to work again, I think it's a bit of both.
And not only that, let's say some people use that extra day to work out or do some exercise or anything like that, and that obviously helps with so many things like mental health, fatigue, physical health and all of that, which again goes into having a good mental health and being able to kind of be productive at work. So I think overall having that extra day is, like you said, a mixture of trying to perform better in those 4 days in a more limited period of time, but also being more relaxed and able to do your work better and more effectively.
So it's given them a lot more help towards their health and well-being, and obviously that's had an effect on their family life as well, I imagine, because they're spending more time at home.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So we've got over 70% of the employees that have been surveyed have said they have the greatest satisfaction with their time. Were able to combine their work with kind of care responsibilities, which is also a lot of people do have those responsibilities, be it child, parents, or whatever. Also, a lot of them, about 60%, have said it was easier for them to combine social life. So being able to kind of see their friends more often and all of that, having that extra day, you can see all these things that kind of add up and so many more things you can do. Having time to call your friends or someone that lives far away you haven't seen in a while again gives you that extra little freedom.
Yeah, because I guess you could do something. So say you didn't work on the Friday, you could do something on the Thursday night, because you wouldn't normally do that.
You wouldn't be able to. You got work next day.
Yeah.
Of course.
Absolutely.
So was this trial only conducted in the UK?
So no, actually it was a global initiative. UK had the most companies that signed up for this, but it actually worked across the UK, US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand. So about close to 100 companies in total across those countries have joined this trial. About 3,500 workers. So again, across the board in all those other companies and countries, the trials were rated highly, similar kind of statistics and surveys from the employees, productivity going up, business performance scoring well, revenue going up as well. So it wasn't just isolated to the UK, this was a global thing. And I'm sure more and more companies will be joining this.
Jumping on the old bandwagon.
Do you think that's the case?
I think so. I mean, when we have asked our clients to already do the 4-day working week, what are the negatives here? What have you struggled with? What are the barriers? They really struggle to come back to us with any negatives, because what these guys that we've spoken to have been doing is they've been kind of like surveying their workers kind of throughout. Every Monday they were putting kind of like surveys out to people, and it wasn't just about work, it was about how do you feel, how's your mental health, how are your stress levels, are you feeling more pressure because you've got to do it in a short amount of time. They were really very thorough with their questions they were asking, and I think that's really important because you need to find out, is this working for us in the way that we want it to? Is this working for us for the reason that we want it to? We want people to be productive, we want people to feel like they can come to work and do the things they need to do in the time frame they've got, because the worst thing is running out of time all of the time. That was one of the things that they thought would be a struggle, but in actual fact when I asked them what were the negatives, they kind of looked at each other like, wasn't
found
really
the time.
anything. Once they'd kind of worked out the teething problems, because obviously like there's some areas of a business that really struggle with the 4-day working week because of what they have to do. Once they worked around those barriers and kind of worked out different things for these kind of teams, they were like, actually, the people who were doing the 4-day working week, there was no negative. Everyone was really happy to trial it, and you don't have to do it if you don't want to do it as well. Those people that are in these businesses, they don't have to work 4 days if they don't want to. They can continue doing what they were doing before. It's an option. You're not forced to do it type thing. But it sounded like everyone was in for it. I would be very in for it. I wouldn't say no.
But that's what I mean. Overall, we're looking at this from an employee's perspective and how great it is for them and things like that. But again, we're looking at the stats, and the companies are benefiting from this, and it's got a good positive impact on businesses. Then you look at the climate and mental health and all this. It just brings about a wider positive impact on the world rather than just focusing, they got an extra day, and kind of, a lot of people do look at it in a very simplistic way, but no, actually it does have a greater impact.
It sounds like people really appreciate having the 4-day working week as well, because it sounds like from what we've heard from both employees and from the kind of, the managers sort of side of things, people are working harder because they're like, well, we've been giving a lot of benefits here. We've got all these lovely things. Why wouldn't we work hard for a company who's going to, give us these benefits? So actually they've found, there wasn't any stats that had gone down, was there? Everything was more productive, more flexible for everyone. Everyone was getting more stuff done. The company was earning more money. They were retaining more staff as well. That was their main thing. Retention was really difficult. A lot of companies struggle with retention, especially in this day and age when there's so many options. Salaries are all the way up. There's a lot of important factors that people look for in a job now, and this has massively helped them retain their staff. And that's important because recruitment costs money. Of course it does. It takes time. It costs money. It's important. It's a big part of the business. If you don't have the right people there, it's not going to go well. Retention is so important, and that's something that they've stuck with. It's gone really, really well, and it's enticing more people to want to actually work for your company as well, because as soon as you put a 4-day working week on a job advert, oh my God, you go from 10 applicants to 10,000 applicants. Everyone wants
honestly,
it.
it's better than putting a 6-figure salary.
It really is. It really is. People find it because money, yes, everyone needs money. Money is important, but actually your time, you're spending time with your family, you're spending time with your friends, you're spending time for you. That's more important to anyone. There's no monetary value for that. That's your life, and giving people that option to have it, I think it's one of the best things you can do for a company.
In a weird way, it's the pandemic that kind of set this trend out, and it showed people that you can be productive by not necessarily, because let's be honest, the 5-day working week, this Monday to Friday thing, is a 100-year-old thing. It's new thing, so it's obviously not going to be right all the time. Eventually it's going to evolve into something better and so on. So we're looking at that kind of evolution at this point. We're at the precipice of what's the next thing that will help us. We're at the point in with technology that we're at the point where we can automate so many things that I'm probably doing, let's say, 10, 20 times more now than someone in my position would have been doing 20 years ago, just because of this automation, all these job boards, all these tools that we have at our disposal. Why not use them to make our lives easier at the end of the day? So I think it's going in the right direction. Like I said, I'm more than happy to be speaking to leaders, not only the employees that love this and kind of, I've been loving doing this and I've gained so much, but talking to leaderships and CTOs and so on. They're saying, I like this. I want to put this, if I move on somewhere else, I'm going to try to implement this because of these things, and it's factual. It's all numbers on black and white at the end of the day. So no one can say anything about it. It's increased revenue, increased productivity, happiness, retention, which is a big thing. All of these will lead to, like I said, a positive kind of or a promising showing.
I think the main thing is it has to be done right as well.
Yeah.
You can't expect it to just work. You can't just jump into it with the 4-day working week and just expect it to work.
Do you think you should do a trial first?
Yeah, it sounds like that seems to be the best option because, you could just jump straight into it and it might work out fabulous, but I think it needs to work for everyone, and I think the trials are what kind of give people the appreciation when you do go back to the 5-day working week. You go, oh wow, this is very different. We did this in 4 days, we're now doing it in 5. Why do we need to do this? It kind of gives you that mindset of we can do it, so let's do it. But the ease into it and how you go about it, I think is very important, and that's something that we can absolutely look into more. And the more people do it, the more we'll see kind of, this works really well, this works really well. But I think it's got to be a slow ease into it, and it's got to work for your company, because what will work for us might not work for the next company here. A law firm is going to be very, very different to a recruitment agency, for example.
Or a
so
larger firm.
Exactly. A smaller business, a bigger business, it's obviously going to work very, very different. So it's got to work for you. You've got to find your kind of route for how it works. But I mean, there's going to be more and more and more of this happening. So there's going to be more that you can just kind of pull out and be like, oh, they've tried this, let's do that. Oh, they've tried this, let's do that. And I think that's going to be a very important part of it. Don't give up on it. Do it properly, and it will
like
work.
you said, they tried it in the summer and they realised that it was the wrong time to trial it.
Yeah, exactly.
So how long was the trial?
So it was, first they did it over the summer for 3 months, and then they said, "Ooh, that didn't work out well." So they started then from September to December. So basically,
so
4
months.
September, October, November. Yeah, 4 months.
We can't count.
So 4 months. They said, "Let's add another month to it."
Yeah.
4 months. Most people were in the office at that point, so they were able to. Well, actually, they're a remote first company, but most people were working, so they were able to kind of get all the information that they needed. But yeah, like you said, this will be popping up more and more, because if you look at Scandinavian countries, for example, they've been doing this for years. Loads of companies have been
We're
doing it
behind,
without a
really,
trial.
when you look through the kind of global side of it.
If you look at Spain now, they've implemented now having all women have 1 day off per month as a menstrual day off, something like that, paid as well, which is incredible, I think. So small little trials and small little actions are happening around the world. It will ultimately lead to us being, more happy and more kind of better balance between life and work. Because at the end of the day, we're here for eight hours a day. We sleep for 8 hours, and we have 8 hours to do, whatever we want to do. So it's a big part of our life. So might as well kind of make it more pleasant.
I mean, let's be honest. Before kind of the pandemic hit and all of that, a lot of companies didn't do working from home or couldn't offer it or anything like that. So it kind of gets to a point of, initially that was kind of unimaginable. I couldn't imagine working in a recruitment agency and working from home. It just didn't seem fathomable. But then when we were kind of forced to do it, it happened. And now it's actually probably more hybrid working and remote working now than there is actually going into the office. So I kind of see this as the same thing. It's a few companies are doing it, a few people are doing it, 4-day working week, it's working really well. I think it's going to kind of hit and it's going to be a boom. I think eventually it's not going to be a Monday to Friday anymore, it's going to be Monday to Thursday or whatever. That will be the new norm sort of thing. And I hope it is, because it seems to be working. I mean, we've not come across hardly any negative kind of side to this.
And the majority of the companies that took part are
going forward with it. Yeah.
And will it be monitored, or are they just deciding that they're going to deal with it? And
so they've got the companies I spoke to have at least one person in maybe the data team or one of the back office teams and things like that. They will be monitoring this and collating all this data, even after the trial, even once they implement it, because they do want to make sure that it doesn't fall south. People don't fall back on it and say, oh, now we're going to relax a little bit. They want to make sure this does continue, but it's again looking promising. I've spoken to some clients we're 4 months into 2023, and they said nothing's really changed. We've had it for 4 months now, and it's been going well. So hopefully, if people don't fall back, obviously you're always going to have a little those rotten eggs in the company. They'll be messing things around, but it seems to be a minority at the moment.
It really does.
So watch this space then.
Indeed.
The 4-day working week may start to be implemented across the UK. Sounds good to me.
Absolutely.
I'll take it.
Do either of you have any last comments before we move on to our last task of the day?
In all honesty, I think it would be a very, very good thing if companies at least tried it. I think every company has to try it, because don't get me wrong, if you're not a company that are not interested in it, for example, if you're a hairdressers, I can't see how that would be productive to do a 4-day working week. Obviously it's business to business kind of relative, but when you're looking at office businesses, offices and general kind of companies like that, I can't see it being a harm. When you look at these statistics, you've got it written in black and white there. Why would you not just try it? Try it and see what happens. If it doesn't work out, you can go back to the norm. It's not going to affect anything. It's fine, but I think it's worth a shot. And hopefully, my fingers are crossed that it's going to become a thing. Monday to Thursday, the new working week. I'm in for it.
Absolutely. And just to add up on that, because you basically nailed on the head. We have all the tools available now to make this happen.
Let's do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I can help any company out there that wants to.